Ji, Assalamu alaikum, students of grade 11. This is Pakistan International School 5. I welcome you all on our YouTube channel. How are you, students, by the way? And what about your studies? Have you started or not yet? If not, so there is a good news for you, as your online classes have already been started in our school. So get ready for that and make up your mind for serious studies now, right? That's very important. Yes, this is your English Hub, and it's virtual learning system session 2020, and this is third lecture, same unit, and the topic is first year at Harrow. It's me, Mrs. Imran, gonna present today this lecture. Yes, students, whenever there is any text or any subject, when you start studying that or when you start reading a chapter, there must be something in your mind at end of this chapter. Once I'll be finishing this, so what should be, or once I'll complete my chapter, especially, so what will I be doing, or what should I learn at the end of this chapter? So those objectives must be in your mind whenever you plan to read any text, right? There must be some learning outcomes. So likewise, here we have some learning outcomes that end of this chapter, what we need to understand, and what properly or actually or appropriately we can reproduce. So the first point is reading. To be able to read and understand language and description of topic from a variety of text. Yes, very important, children, that you need to understand a particular language. Either way, language is Urdu, English, or French, or any of the languages. But the main part is you need to understand the construction of sentences, and everything should be understood by you. And then variety of text is given. So of course, description must be clear in your mind. So as we'll be doing so inshallah you'll be understanding each and everything. So the second point is writing. Writing, yes, writing is also very important. To be able to write describing impressions, feelings, and experiences. Yes, description is okay, fine, and impression, feelings, and experiences are also very important. Like whatever experience have been shared, you can reproduce them in your own words as well. Write about familiar topics, whatever the topics may be related to these or of your own. You can reproduce, or you can write about those topics. So the third, but the most important point, I guess, that's new vocabulary words. Students, let me share one thing with you here before starting this point. That whenever you are reading any text, what's the most important part? Fine, you just understood the construction of a sentence, good enough. Then the second thing, you got the main idea of that particular sentence, that you got it, that what this writer or an author is actually talking about. Now the third part you need to focus on is vocabulary words. If the new words have been introduced, or if new words have been given, so you are the one who has to pick up those words and keep those words in your pocket or in your mind for reproducing them, or to reuse them somewhere else in your routine life, or in your routine practice. Why? Because these words will make you able to use to just use them in your day-to-day talk, because these words will be helpful in your routine conversation. Okay, so The new vocabulary words to be able it's about new vocabulary words to be able to learn and understand a variety of new words related to the topic. You will be, of course, you will be learning and understanding with me, right? Fine. But afterwards you need to use them, and I'll be expecting it from you that you'll be sharing with me later that whatever you have learned from this chapter, you're going to write in your own words as well. Yes. As topic, I have already told you, first year at Harrow, and it's written by Sir Winston S. Churchill. His date of birth is November 30th, 1874 in England, and then date of death is Jan 24, 1965. And his age was 90, and it was also in London. Yes, it's about his life. He remained Prime Minister of United Kingdom from 1940 to 1945, then 1951 to 1955. And his political affiliation was with Conservative Party and then with Liberal Party. Yes, about his work. He wrote different piece of writing, but here they have mentioned yes, it's about Marlborough, his life and times, and the story of Malaccan Field Force, and Lord Ranulph Churchill, the River War, and then the World Crisis. Subjects to study, that was about World War II. And he played as an important role in World War I, then World War II, and in Pacific War. What did he actually talk about? Here in this chapter, as I guess in my first lecture, in introductory lecture, if you remember, I shared with you the contents, right? In contents, I told you about first experiences, right? About first experience of anyone, right? It can be of yours, it can be of mine, and it here at the syllabus that it has designed. So these are the experiences of different writers accordingly. So here the first this first experience, as we discussed about first flight, then the second chapter is also about his own personal experience. It is about exam phobia, by the way. You know, students, exams are always exams for everyone, even for the children, even for other, and either way, it's for adult. Exam is being designed for adults even, or maybe for the children. It having the same impression, right? So let me tell you a little about the difference between. This is just for I'm just sharing an info with you because sometimes it helps you, right? There is one part is known as assessment. So assessment is actually is made to identify the level of performance of an individual, whereas evaluation is performed to determine the degree to which goals are attained. So the basic difference between assessment and evaluation is what? Actually, this is assessment is orientation, right? It's a process in which someone is being of orientation, right? Someone is being oriented, or that is actually process of orientation. But evaluation is the product whatever is being oriented, right? So you need to know, it's just a info to share with you all. Okay, so exam phobia is always there. Students, though the students are very good in their studies, they know each and everything of their syllabi, whatever has been designed for them. But the main part is this: when it comes to exams, it really gives them tough time. So, or if somebody tells you that you're gonna be assessed, so assessment is always there for you at, and or if you know that you are going to be tested by someone, so you just feel a little scared, right? Likewise it happened in his case, because he was thinking about himself like, I felt myself too young to be assessed, right? He thought like hardly a boy of 12, so how can he be assessed by someone, and especially for those subjects which he has never been through with. I mean, he never studied those subjects before. He kept on studying other subjects like history, essay writing, and he knew a lot about poetry. But the subjects which he was asked to be assessed, or to be which the subjects which which they had already in their school, those subjects were totally different. Those subjects were Greek and Latin, and he had never studied those subjects before. So that, of course, that was a big fear, and it was a known fear, by the way. If you remember, we shared these two terms also, known fear and unknown fear. So students sometimes known fear, always sometimes known fears create a big problem, and many of the times it happens like unknown fears even come across and give you tough time and just stay in front of you and to make you scared. So it happened here with him. And then we see that how examiners asked them to have that paper, and how did he do that, and how I mean, like, he was feeling fearful, he wasn't feeling confident enough to write anything in that paper. And it was this way, he was just practice, he just appeared in that exam. So let's start it. I had scarcely passed my 12th birthday when I entered the inhospitable regions of examinations, where he was asked to go and to stay there for such time period, through which for the next 7 years I was destined to journey. Like he was supposed to be there for this much time period. How he's saying I entered the inhospitable region means unfriendly region. He had never thought to be there, right? And and then afterwards, regions of examinations. Now it's interestingly they are telling us about that examination system which he will be facing, through which for the next 7 years I destined to the journey. These examinations were a great trial to me. Students psychologically, whenever, as I've told you before, that psychologically it leaves an impact on students' personality when we talk about exam. But here it was just like a trial for him, because it was quite shaky, right? He was thinking about himself, like it was quite shaky for me and why I've been tested or assessed. The subjects that were dearest to the examiners were almost invariably those I fancied least. He barely could think of those subjects which he was supposed to appear in those subjects for for exam purpose, right? So I would have liked to have been examined in history. Yes, it could happen. Like he could have been asked for these subjects: history, poetry, and writing essays. It was a simple formula. He just simply was trying to ask them that it's okay, fine. Like, why not these subjects? Why have been asked for other subjects which I have never studied? So the examiners, on the other hand, were partial to Latin and mathematics. So that was their mindset in the beginning, right? And the Greek Latin they studied later, as we discussed before, right? So, and their will prevailed. So, what will be influencing actually their will, their opinion, right? Not his. Moreover, the questions which they asked on both these subjects were almost invariably those to which I was unable to suggest a satisfactory answer, of course, because he didn't know anything about that. And he hadn't any previous knowledge as well for the same subject, for those subjects. I should have liked to be asked to say what I knew. Of course, whatever he was familiar with, he could have been asked for those particular subjects. They always tried to ask what I didn't know, what I did not know, right? When I would have willingly displayed my knowledge. Now, interestingly, I mean, I like these lines, that if I just tell someone that yes, try to evaluate or try to assess me in this discipline because I know a lot about it, but somebody says no, it's not required here, and whatever we need to know, we will be asking you that particular subject or those particular questions. So comparatively, it seems little means embarrassing and making him little scary as well, right? Makes him scared. When I would have willingly displayed my knowledge, they sought to expose my ignorance. This is how they could do, by the way. This sort of treatment had only one result. And what happened in result? I did not do well in examinations. This is how we discussed, right? This was especially true to my entrance examination to Harrow. The headmaster, Mr. Weldon, however, took a broad-minded view of my Latin prose. This is how he took him. He's thought about himself. He was like a little broad-minded guy. So he was thinking positively about the student, and he was thinking like he might know little, maybe a lot about his own subject, but not this about these subjects. He showed discernment in judging my general ability. So he knows that he had that judgment level, right? He was thinking about himself, about that guy, about that student, that he will produce the results. Maybe not now because not at this time he doesn't know anything about those subjects, but later on he'll be doing good in future. I mean, like later on he'll be doing good, or he'll be doing good in future. So he should be tested generally, or his general abilities can also be assessed. This was the more remarkable. Yes, of course, it was so interesting, and it seems like he found him diligent, or he found him brilliant, but he thought like he doesn't know anything about these subjects. That's why he is failed to. He's badly failed to appear in to appear himself to appear in a proper way in these particular subjects, because I was found unable to answer a single question in the Latin paper. See, he couldn't write even a single sentence over there because he didn't know anything. Or maybe, as we say, we don't know the ABCs of any subject, so it was likewise for him. I wrote my name. I wrote my name at the top of the page. I wrote down the number of the question. This is question. Then he has just simply wrote over there one, and then after much reflection, I put a bracket round in this. Then yes, this again, but thereafter, I couldn't think of anything connected with it that was either relevant or true. Students, the most important thing here, let me just share with you before we move forward. Or the thing is that we always make up our mind for any subject that yes, we can do it, or we learn this subject, or we can learn this subject. But unless or until you don't study that, unless or until you don't have enough sufficient knowledge for that particular subject, you won't be able to reproduce at all, right? It happened in the same way with the student. Okay, now, apart from your syllabus, let me tell you one thing more, which is very important, as because I'm trying to teach you as a language, then as a subject, right? So, if I take it as a language, so let me tell you a few things, few important points regarding these two paragraphs. The thing is, you need to focus on the structure of a sentence. That's very important, that how it's been designed or how it's been constructed, right? So you need to read a sentence. Maybe if I'm saying that if I'm talking of the first sentence, so you need to know how the connectors have been used, how efficiently they're using adverbs, and for beautifying, or for just giving to make the sentence or make the text little catchy, how they are using some adverbs or adjectives especially, right? And connectors as well. So these are very important points. You need to focus on these points. And then how can we make any text engaging? That's all about setting, right? If you have good setting of any chapter, so that will keep you that will help you a lot to be the part of that chapter for some time, that you will be involved in that, right? So that's very important. So you need to know. Incidentally, there arrived from nowhere in particular a blot. I mean, all of a sudden it happened like there was a dot and several smudges, and there were several smudges, ink smudges were there, dots were there. And I gazed for 2 whole hours at this sad spectacle. And he kept observing and staring at that. And then merciful ushers and the guides were there, collected my piece of foolscap with that were piece of paper with all the others and carried it up as phrasal verbs. I'm not again and again, because it makes you a little bored that if I just tell you all the time about phrasal verbs, so better take care. It's again here, so all of a sudden I just told you, but you need to underline for your ease, right? So, and carried it up to the headmaster's table. This was the time of the judgment, right? It was from these slender and indications. These were the now. This was the time when it was being it had to be decided. This was a small indication. What were those small indications of scholarship that Mr. Weldon drew the conclusion that I was worthy to pass into Harrow. Yes, it was almost decided. It is very much of his credit. This is his generosity again, and it shows, and the author is saying that it goes to him, of course, the way he helped me a lot. He helped me in this way, and he gave me a chance that I have to prove. I'll be proving myself in future. So he was expecting a lot actually from me. So it goes to his code that he gave me this chance. It showed that he was a man capable of looking beneath the surface of things. Like he was a keen observer. He could see the thing beyond the surface or behind the surface or beneath the surface. A man not dependent upon paper manifestation, who is not depending on that presented paper, on that displayed paper, on that given paper, that this is how he is. No, he didn't observe him that way. He thought about himself, like about that guy, that about that student, that he will be performing in after once he'll be the part of our system, once he'll be in our school. So he'll be performing well once when he'll be having a proper environment and those that study background of those subjects, right? Yes. Now, I have always had the greatest regard for him. Of course, he has to be thankful for his headmaster. Now, it's the same. This is all description, right? In consequence of his decision, when it was decided, it was in due course placed in the third or lowest division of the fourth or bottom. How he was taken. He was taken in that way, like he falls in that category where the students are hardly, I mean, all the students are in upper grade, and he was at the lowest level in that way, right? So the course plays in third or lowest division of the fourth or bottom. The names, even he thought it, I mean, like if I say sarcastically, he's saying, by the way, here, that the name of the new boys were printed in the school list in alphabetical order, and as my correct name was Spencer Churchill, began with an S, I gained no more advantage from the alphabet than from the wider sphere of letters. He said, I didn't get any edge of it. The reason was because he was taken at the last. They just gave him that space that it's okay, you have to be here, because rest of the students had a lot of knowledge about other subjects. So he was considered a poor student, maybe. I was, in fact, only two from the bottom of the whole school, and interestingly, additionally, one they are what they're talking about now, and these two, I regret to say, disappeared almost immediately through illness or some other cause. Oh my God! So there was a point. Then he thought like I was at the bottom, by the way, because everybody, like the students, those were there after me, were even there. They just went for some reasons, right? Because of their illness or other thing, other reasons. So he was the last one in this way. Ji bete. So there are some vocabulary words for you as I try to explain during teaching you, but still, if you feel there are some problems with in your book, the vocab bank is given, so you may see them and you may learn and understand, or understand and then learn them, and try to use them in different sentences as well, right? This will be helpful. Yes, we're gonna close this today's lecture. It's the last slide, and it's about have an aim in life. You need to be ambitious a lot, because if you will have ambitions, aims in life, so, or if you will be ambitious, so you'll be achieving your goals. Continuously acquire knowledge. You have to, yes, knowledge can be knowledge can be fruitful, by the way, right? All whenever you talk about knowledge, it doesn't mean that everything is good for you to know, right? It's about the good stuff, it's about the fruitful stuff, right, which will help you in your future. That type of knowledge. Work hard. Yes, in the beginning, even I told you about that. So you need to work hard and keep working hard and continue, keep, just be on your toes. It will help you a lot. And be positive in your approach as well. And have perseverance to realize the great life. And of course, once you will be having these all ornaments in your personality, so you'll be enjoying your life. God bless you all. Stay happy, stay safe, stay